Hello. Yeah, thanks for joining us. It's 1:30 on a Wednesday afternoon again, so another webinar topic. This time we are talking about Copilot Chat because it's slightly different to what we've talked about in the past relating to Copilot. So Microsoft are for forever changing and developing this product. So they keep changing the name as well. So that's something we have to bear in mind. But Anna Marika is going to step us through that one today. Just as a reminder, always with our webinars, we are recording this and we'll be sharing the recording for anyone who registered. So not everyone who attended, but you get the benefit of asking questions if you attend. So we have a Q&A. So across the top, you'll see the Q&A section, and I'll be covering that as well. Anna Marika's running through the slide deck. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask anything and we'll try and answer them. And we'll try and grab them at the end if there's something we can share with everybody. Okay. So, all right. Thanks very much for joining, and over to you, Anna Marika.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming along and giving up your Wednesday lunch. Today we are going to be talking about a new offering from Microsoft in the Copilot space, which is called Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. Bit of a mouthful. This offering is going to be quite a nice one for those of you that are looking to introduce Copilot into the organization, but maybe a wee bit put off by the pricing of the full Copilot, or maybe needing to work on your organizational structure, your data governance before you can put the full Copilot in. So this new offering is going to give you an in-between step, and the great news is it is free. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. It also comes with some extras with it as well, one of which we'll also dive into, which is working with agents. So that's our plan for today. Now, before I kick off into the details about working with Copilot Chat, I thought it might be wise just to start with, again, what is Copilot, because we may have some people on the call who weren't part of our earlier Copilot webinar. So just to get you up to speed, I'm going to go through this very briefly for those of you who have seen it before. Just bear with us for a couple minutes and we'll be through that. For those that want to see the full webinar, Ian, when he sends you the recording, will also provide the links so that you can have a look at that past webinar. So what is Copilot? Copilot is Microsoft's brand for anything that uses generative AI. That's been brought into the Microsoft experience. Now, Microsoft have literally hundreds of Copilots, and they're in all sorts of different places. A lot of them are embedded into existing apps that you may be using. So for those of you using Power Automate or Power Apps, you may have seen that you have Copilot already sitting inside there. Some of you using Edge as the browser will notice that you've also got Copilot sitting there as well. So it's in lots and lots of different places, but there are also standalone offerings, specifically Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is the paid version of Copilot, which gives you all sorts of wonderful things. Now, the Copilots, there are free options and there are those that come with a subscription, and that standalone one that I just mentioned, that is one of the subscription offerings. In today's session, we're just going to focus on the Microsoft 365 Copilot. I'm not going to be looking at those embedded options, so that's where our focus is for today. Microsoft 365 Copilot is a paid version, and it allows us to use the Copilot a bit like a personal assistant, and it can do all sorts of wonderful things, and I'll summarize those in just a moment. The important thing with this particular Copilot is that it is connected to your business data. So it's more than just putting the OpenAI's ChatGPT into Microsoft 365. What it's actually doing is being grounded in your business data. So it looks at what are all the different connections that you use within your organization, and it can reason over that. So who are the people you interact with? What are the files you're allowed access to, and so on. And it has real-time access to that content as well as the context in a space that we call the Microsoft Graph. It is built using Microsoft's comprehensive approach to security, compliance, and privacy. So it will inherit any of your company's security, the compliance, any identity that you put in place, privacy policies, processes, etc., as well as what permissions you have on your site libraries on your sites and your libraries. It will only let staff see what they currently have permission to see and nothing more. That's it. The Copilot large language model is not trained on your tenant data. So what's in your tenant stays in your tenant. And the Copilot is integrated into all the apps that you're used to using daily, so Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook, Teams, etc. So it's in all the places where we do the work, and it can look over all of that data and help you in the work that you do on your day-to-day basis. So here's a little bit of a summary. In that other webinar that I talked about, we go into this in a bit more detail, but just to give you a summary, Copilot can do things like write documents for you based on information and files that you ask it to use as a reference. So you can ask it to go and find files and then summarize key information within those files. It can shorten or expand the content in a document, summarize documents. In Excel, we can ask it to analyze trends and create professional looking data visualizations. In Copilot, we can ask it to summarize long email threads. Now, it even takes it a step beyond that. It can look through a long email thread and then suggest your response back to the individual based on what it reads in that email, which is also quite nice. It can draft emails, it can find relevant emails and summarize context. In Teams, we can ask it to summarize key discussion points and action points. We can ask it to catch up on meetings you missed. So if you took a week's holiday and you came back, you can ask Copilot to tell you what meetings you missed and summarize things like the action points that took place in the meeting, as well as provide you with any documents that were shared during those meetings. So it really is helping you in the role that you take on. There's some information there on how it can work in PowerPoint, and it can work between applications as well. Now, this is the fully featured Copilot, and you pay for that privilege. In New Zealand terms, it's just under $50 per month, but you have to commit for the year for that subscription. Now, the bright, sparkling new offering from Microsoft. So Microsoft have recently announced that they are going to provide a new Copilot, and this Copilot is called Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. Very similar to what we just said in our previous example, except we've got the word chat added at the end. A bit of a mouthful as well, but it is what it is. We'll get used to it. So when you hear people talking about Copilot Chat, that's what we're talking about. Now, this new offering from Microsoft allows organizations to quickly and securely being a really important word, scale your AI adoption for all employees, and it's free. So by having this additional offering, it's providing different entry points for organizations into Copilot. It allows you to introduce Copilot in a safe and secure way to reduce the risk of shadow IT. Now, you probably are aware that your staff are going to be using some form of AI in your organization with or without your permission. If we can provide them with an option that sits safely in your Microsoft environment, it is going to protect your organizational data, and this tool set is going to do that. So let's have a look at what we've got. So we now have two Copilots available. We've got the Copilot Chat, which is free, and it also has what we call pay-as-you-go agents. I'll talk a little bit more about what agents are a little later on in the chat, in the conversation today, but that's a nice entry point as well. And then we have the fully featured Copilot, which Microsoft call your personal AI assistant. This is in USD, so I've just put a wee note under the slide there that it is USD. You saw in the previous slide, it's actually around the $50 mark for us here in NZ. Right, let's look at what we can do with Copilot Chat. Copilot Chat, the first thing is that it gives you free, secure, enterprise-ready AI chat. It's powered by GPT-4o, which is a really good version of the GPT, so it's a great place to be starting, and it's grounded in the web. Second, you can build your own agents that will enable you to rethink how you do your business processes. So finding some ways where we can get the agents to assist with the work that your staff are doing. The agents are integrated into the chat experience and are paid for on a metered basis. So you only pay for what you use. So if you end up using these agents, you can bring them into your organization and have it as a pay-as-you-go without having to buy a license for every single user in your organization. And thirdly, it comes with robust IT controls that ensure enterprise-grade security. It gives you privacy, compliance, and management, and that's all wrapped up in this free model, which is great. Right, let's go into a little bit more detail of what you can actually do inside the Copilot Chat. And it's quite amazing what you can do in this free space. So the first is that we can do that web-grounded chat that we talked about. So that will allow you to do things like undertake some market research. You can ask it to help you write a strategy document, for example. We can upload files into the chat as well and ask it to reason on the files that we bring into the chat. And bringing those files into the chat is secure. It's not going into the LLM, so the large language model. We're not training it with that. It is going to be using that documentation to provide you with a response. So we can get it to do things like summarize key points in that document. We can ask it to analyze data in an Excel spreadsheet. We can suggest improvements to a PowerPoint presentation, etc. It is also connected to Copilot Pages. So for those of you that a little while back came along to our Loop webinar, Copilot Pages is actually a loop page. So with our Copilot Pages, we can do a chat, take the response that comes from the chat and put it into a Copilot page. We can then share that page with others in the organization and then continue to add content into that page that will come from further Copilot interactions, or it comes from your files, or you can bring information in from the web. So it's a nice little extra that comes with it. We can create AI-generated images, which we were able to do previously with the free version, but this is all still part of your Copilot Chat. And then we've got this extra of being able to create agents that will help us automate any repetitive tasks or business processes in the organization. I'll take you through some examples of how you can use that a little later on. And most importantly is that it comes with the security and control. Microsoft are calling it Copilot Control System. They have two different levels available. There's what comes with chat and there's what comes with the full version. So the full version comes with what you see here on screen, plus some extras, but your chat version has these three available. So we get enterprise data protection. We get the ability to govern access and manage the usage and life cycle of our Copilot and the agents, and we can do measuring and reporting on our Copilot usage as well. Now, we've got a video here to watch. Yes, I did share the sound, so that should all be up and running. Have a watch of the video, and then we'll come back and step through the next bits.
I don't think there's any sound, Anna-Marika.
There's no sound?
No.
Okay, let me
You want some basic information.
All right, let's start again. Here we go.
Okay, so let me show you Copilot Chat in action. Say you work in business planning for an EV charging company, and you're developing the strategy for the year. You start by asking Copilot to do some research online. You want some basic information, like how EV charging has grown by region. Now, Copilot is grounded in the web, so it can reason over the entire internet and quickly pull the relevant information. All right, great. Now let's see how these national trends compare to your sales results. With Copilot Chat, you can easily and securely upload files like your regional sales data from the past few quarters and have it visualized. You can continue to iterate here with Copilot, like asking it to recommend strategies to help increase sales in lower performing regions. Copilot Chat is going to boost the productivity and creativity of every employee. But if you want to
Right, so that gives you a little bit of an understanding of just how far we can push the Copilot Chat. You may have been able to see that little Copilot Pages button in there as well for those that were looking closely. So once you had that information, you can then push that into the Copilot Pages to be working with as well. Copilot Agents, you've heard me mention that a little bit now, and Copilot Agents allow us to get a Copilot that is specifically focused on either your knowledge or your processes or both. Now, you can easily create an agent using natural language inside of Copilot Chat. So if you're trying to just put the basic agent together for yourself, you can do that yourself. We can get them to be more complex. As you get more complex, you may need some further support in creating those items. Examples of where we can use an agent, maybe you are a customer service representative and we can ask information from a CRM agent to provide us with account details before we go into a customer meeting. Or we might have information stored inside of SharePoint, and we can have somebody who is needing to assist clients or go in and service products be able to access that knowledge real time and find the actual product information that we need inside of SharePoint. So they can type in their question, it goes looking into the library for the information and returns it back without them having to open anything as they go through. Now, if you're doing this inside of Copilot Chat, this is where you will start paying for things. So if the information is web-based, it will be free for you. If you are needing to interact with your business data, or if you need to interact with any third-party tools, that's when the metering will kick into action. So that's that pay-as-you-go feature that we talked about. The use of the agents is controlled by IT. IT can choose who is and who is not allowed to create agents, and also who is and isn't allowed to use agents. IT can also build organizational wide agents that they can then deploy organizationally wide and manage that deployment. That's both in the paid and the free version of of Copilot. Got another video here. We should have the sound all good to go on this one. So this one's going to talk to you about agents. So let's get that one up on screen.
Think about what it would mean to empower your frontline workers with agents to supercharge those critical business processes. Let me show you. We'll start in Copilot Chat, where we can open a simple agent for a field service technician. Imagine you're on site working to resolve a customer issue and you get an error code that you've just never seen before. Your field service agent is designed for exactly this scenario. The agent has access to all your product knowledge and can give you step-by-step instructions in real time so you can easily troubleshoot the error and get your customer back up and running. And these agents can also be accessed on any device, PC, tablet, or mobile. Soon, every organization. Think about.
There we go. So one example of how you can create and use an agent. And as I say, some of that is contained inside the chat. Others will be inside the paid version. If we're doing it in the chat, it is a pay-as-you-go model. All right, now we're going to switch over to Microsoft 365 Copilot. So this is the fully featured version of Copilot. It's the paid version, if you like. Again, this is in USD, so just remember you need to change it through to NZD. Copilot 365 is your personal assistant. It comes with everything that you get with Copilot Chat, plus those additional items that are showing underneath the plus sign there. So the difference is that in the chat with Microsoft 365 Copilot, we now have the ability to have the chat look into your work data. So it's grounded in your organizational knowledge. So you can ask it questions about files that are inside your libraries. You can ask it about the meetings that you've attended and so on. Whereas that free version of Copilot Chat does not come into your organizational space. Copilot is also embedded into each of your Microsoft 365 apps, so Teams, Outlook, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So those two items on their own are what sells most people on going into this paid version, and it very quickly pays itself back in terms of time saving. We've got several organizations in this space already getting value out of these licenses. The agents come as standard here, so you don't have the pay-as-you-go model. It is included as part of your license. There is another type of agent available to us as well, and it's called an autonomous agent. And an autonomous agent is where the agent can work on its own, and it comes to you when you ask it to come to you for approval or when it needs further information. So it could, for example, be that when an email comes in with a particular topic, that it knows it needs to read that email, understand which colleague it needs to be passed to, and sends that information through to that particular colleague, as an example. If it sees that someone's away, it might then be able to register that it goes to the second person in charge, for example. So those autonomous agents are a pay-as-you-go model inside of this paid version, but all other agents are included as part of your Copilot licensing. We get the full Copilot control system here, so there's some additional protections that come with it, and we get the full analytics as part of this paid model as well. This table, I know there's a lot of detail in here. I'm not expecting you to read all the detail, but just to give you a feel for what's here, this allows you to see what is provided with the free version and what comes with the paid version. So the two columns on the right-hand side, the very right is the paid version. Again, it's in USD, not NZD. And then we have the new chat version, which is the free version. Make sure our clicks work. Everything you see in this red box comes free with the free version. So all of the chat detail that we talked about, the agents that are web-based agents, will come with it. If you are looking to ground your data and ground your agent in work data, that's when you will start to pay for the privilege. So these last two items here are paid items. They're the pay-as-you-go model. Then down the bottom here, these are what we get in terms of the protection under the free Copilot. The yellow highlighting that you see now is what we get with the paid subscription. So you can see that we get everything there. The red line should have been taken away. My apologies there. With the paid version, you do get that as part of the model. Let's get rid of the boxes for the free version. The yellow here shows us the main benefits to having that paid license. This is what most people see as the benefits of having the paid model. It's having that personal assistant inside of all of the apps that you work with on a regular basis, the ability to chat on your work grounded data, and we can now, for those companies that are starting to get into it, create agents as part of our license inside of that license too. And the additional benefit that we get in terms of security, we have more detailed analytics that comes to us. It includes the SharePoint Advanced Management, which used to be an additional license, and that's now part of your Copilot licensing. Now, the pay-as-you-go model. The message from Microsoft is it's a penny per message. However, a message means different things depending on what you're sending. So if you were to send a web-grounded message, it's going to cost you nothing. If you're doing a classic message, it'll cost you one message, i.e. 1 penny. Generative answers are 2 messages, and so on. So things like the autonomous actions are going to cost you more messages on the pay-as-you-go model as well. Benefits to organizations. Having these 2 different products allows us to have different entry points depending on your organizational maturity. So you can start your organization off with a basic entry point that allows staff to become familiar with Copilot and allowing you to do that in a safe manner. So instead of them using their own versions of AI, you are using a controlled version of AI that sits inside your Microsoft space and it complies with your securities that you already have established. As you develop staff skill and productivity, you can move your staff through to the paid versions of the license. So as they become more comfortable with using Copilot, you can move them into that space. Or if it's that your file structure and governance aren't quite ready for you to be able to light up Copilot, and we have a couple of clients in that space who are really keen to turn on Copilot, but they need to tidy up their data structures before they can turn on Copilot. So if that's the case, using something like this chat allows you to get in and use Copilot while you're still getting that file structure and governance all tidied up. It also helps from a costing point of view, of course, as well. So we can then make decisions about whether we are going to give everybody a paid license, or we give some people a paid license and others a free license, or we put everybody into a free license. So you can do a mixture of those different licenses. There's protection available on both the free and the paid version. So as we talked about, you know that staff will be using other AI products. So don't put your organizational data at risk. Put them into a controlled product like this. Copilot brings that peace of mind to your company to know that your information is safe, and you've got those robust controls in place as well. For those of you that are interested, here at Custom 365, we provide a range of options to help you on your Copilot journey. If you're looking to get yourself into the free version of Copilot, we have a training course available for staff. It's 2 lots of 1 hours. Now, the reason why we break that up into 2 sessions is it allows staff to learn a bit about Copilot, practice using Copilot, and then come back and learn some further skills and come back with some questions as well. So 2 times the 1 hour session. If you are looking to get yourself set up for the pay-as-you-go model, we can assist you with setting that side of things up as well. Once you do those things, that's all that's required. You don't need to pay any licenses. You don't need to do anything else. Staff can just start using Copilot. So if you're interested in that, get in touch with Ian or myself and we can get you booked in on a course. If you're looking to go down the route of the paid version or the fully featured version, whatever you want to be calling it, we have a range of different offerings available to you. So the first thing you probably want to do is undertake a discovery workshop. During that workshop, we meet with your team. We get an overview of what it is that you're wanting to achieve with Copilot. We deep dive into some of the areas of interest for you, try to get a gauge on your business requirements, and then identify use cases for Copilot within your organization. From there, we'll map out a plan of action and establish your training requirements. If you're lighting up the paid version of Copilot, then you need to make sure that your data and your governance is all properly set up before you turn on those licenses. So we also offer a technical readiness assessment. What we do in that is come in and check your permissions, your sharing and your exposure, check your licenses and prepare an implementation plan for you. The next part is to get people trained and ready, and we've developed a coaching program which we call Copilot to ProPilot. It's a 6-week training course, an hour per week. We have a lot of fun in these sessions. We come and teach the staff some new skills inside of Copilot. The teachings that we give are based on that plan. So you've defined what you want your staff to know, and we then incorporate that into the training program. Once the staff have been taught the new details, they're given some homework, and the homework is to be able to practice what they've learnt inside of class. They're also encouraged to share what's working well for them and to share any challenges that they've had, which we will then address in the next session. So at each session, we look at what questions have you got, how can we help you progress, and also what's working really well. Copilot is all about changing work habits, and so rather than just coming in and giving a training course, we're wanting to encourage staff to change how they work and think about where Copilot can be used inside of their organisation. Next, we also offer a Copilot Engage, and that's for organisations that really want to embed Copilot into their organisation. It's a monthly check-in with your staff. We come in, answer any questions, help them grow in the Copilot space. They might be at the stage that they're wanting to start working on creating agents, for example, and we can help with those sorts of options as well. We address the challenges, celebrate the successes, and we keep people updated on the changes inside of Copilot as well as best practices, because obviously things are changing all the time. As part of that, you also get utilisation analysis and recommendations on how to encourage growth in the Copilot space, and any ongoing training is needed. We got there. Question and answer time. So a couple of questions that came up as we were putting the webinar together. One was, is it possible to mix the free Copilot and the paid Copilot together? The answer is yes, you can. That allows you to then give the correct option to each of your staff to meet your organisational requirements. And the other question was, do you need to undertake an audit of the tenant before turning on the free Copilot or providing access to the free Copilot? And the answer is no. You're safe to encourage staff to use that free Copilot. That said, though, it is always important to make sure that you have a well-structured, well-governed tenant. So even though you don't have to do it for the free Copilot, you should make sure that you've got things well structured in your organisation, so regardless of whether you're doing Copilot or not. I'll open it up to further questions. If anybody is interested in learning more, feel free to jump into our website for more information. We have a flyer available, which I think we might send out after this webinar for those that would like to have a read through of that. And of course, get in touch with Ian and myself if you would like to discuss anything. Are there any questions, Ian?
We had a couple of questions, but I think they were quite specific to their own use cases. So hopefully I've answered those in the Q&As. So rather than take up too much time, I think we'll let people get on. But if anyone has any questions going forward, then we can, by all means, answer those in a separate email or something like that. Just reach out. Just one thing I would say is I think the Copilot is a really exciting space. And for those of our clients that have like document controls for their like policies and procedures, I think the agents could create a really good opportunity to have an interactive bot that your staff can ask what those procedures are and then get the actual responses from your own SharePoint libraries. So I think that's a really cool use case. And the same for like health and safety and things like that. Once it becomes like a business process within the agent, I think there's some real clever opportunities to change your business,
And
not
develop
just the
I was just
Go
going
on.
to say, developing on your idea there too of the processes, you can then also tie it into workflows. So if somebody asks information about a certain process, that you can then step them through the process of what needs to take place. So it's not just looking up information, but also guiding them through a workflow space as well. So there's some
Yeah.
great opportunities in those agents.
So like how do I record an incident, a health and safety incident? You could then present the procedure of how to actually record it, but then the Copilot can actually ask, well, was there an incident? Who was involved? What was the date and time? And find out more details and actually capture that and then trigger off a business process. So there's lots of opportunities there for some really cool things. I also just put into the Q&A, I just did a post. We have a self-assessment. So if you do have concerns about your SharePoint storage, utilization, and security, so the biggest thing with Copilot is knowing who has access to what content within your SharePoint. So I've just added a self-assessment. Feel free to just run through that. It's going to ask you 24 questions, sorry, and just it will give you a score based on your own knowledge. It's not delving into your SharePoint tenant. It's just asking you your opinion on things, and it will give you a score. So check that out. And next quarter, or in about 6 weeks' time. There it is, 2nd of April. Same time, same place. We are running a session on Smart DMS. So that's our document management system. So that's how we manage controlled documents. And so that's like review cycles and things like that. So tune in for that one. Feel free to register. That's the QR code. So yeah, look forward to seeing you all there. And I know we ran a little bit over time, but I see most of us are still here. So that's really cool. Appreciate you hanging on.
And if there are any other questions, feel free to hang on. Otherwise, thank you everybody for coming along.